King's Kids. We are King's Kids. Yes, we are King's Kids. That is King's Kids by Kingdom from 1988, I believe it was. Yeah, 1988. And my brother here had something to do with that album, from what I understand, and I joined Kingdom after that. So I had not met him till recently, and in speaking with him, he is a brother that cares for his community in Hartford, Connecticut, and we're going to find out some of the things that he is doing. This brother is a former mayoral candidate. He is an executive producer. He is a director. He is a cameraman. He is, you name it, he's done it and is doing it. My brother, J. Stan McCauley, how are you doing?
Hello, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. Glad to have you on the show.
It's good to be on. Thanks for the invite. It's today's technology is a wonderful thing.
Yes. Well, how I got in contact or saw some of your work was I was looking up some things for Ronnie Song to have him on the show, and I came over this interview. I think it was done around the time that you were running for mayor, and I can't say shocked, maybe surprised, because I didn't know he did interviews like that. And so I was listening to the interview, and I said I definitely have to have him on the show. And then as after I asked him, and he said yes, I started looking at your work, and I was really impressed at the things that you're doing and the heart that you have. So without any further ado, I would like for you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see. I, as you said, I ran for mayor here in the city of Hartford. One Sunday night, the Lord spoke to me and said, stop talking about what's wrong. I don't want you to say another word. Another word about what's wrong with the city until you do something about it. And I've done long form expository gospel program for about 20 years or so. And I always use the news of the day, events of the day, politics of the day, to help make the analogies so people can wrap their head around, the Word of God. And, I said, with all that's going on and all the prayers and all the sacrifices that people are making, things just seem to be getting worse. It's like, we're rescuing these babies out of the water, but who's throwing the babies in the water? And so I said, it's time to get out of the baby rescuing business and go into the belly of the beast and find out who is throwing these tender creatures into the water. And so being a kind of a political pundit and talking and pontificating about what's wrong, I now was on the in a kind of a catch-22 where we'll do something. And so I ran twice against an incumbent. The last time I ran against an incumbent who took over for an outgoing incumbent. And that's how I got deeply involved in the political structure in Hartford. But being a political outsider and somewhat of a malcontent and dissident and one that doesn't know how to govern his mouth and tongue in right social settings, that always creates for an interesting time when one is political.
What was it like running for such an office in Hartford? I mean, it's not, some people, we look at it as lay people, we look at it from television or look at it from individuals that do not have an idea what it takes to run for any kind of office, especially an office like the mayor. What was the experience like? What type of things did you have to go through and make sure were on point?
Well, running for office, I would encourage everybody to run for office. I'm of the mindset that, the government works for us. They are our employees. I don't think government officials, elected officials, are royalty by any stretch of the imagination. They're hired help. And I think that the sooner we begin to look at them that way, the better. But running for high office, running for mayor or the executive, because I'm not a good. I can do the legislative stuff, but I don't have the temperament as an executive to go through the debate, the back and forth, the compromise, the consensus as to where we're going to put these bicycle stands. We need them. Put them downtown by McDonald's, and let's call it a day. No, well, they want to buy, this store, that store. And I just don't have the temperament for that. So let other minds figure that out, and I'll make sure it comes in on budget, under budget, and on time. But running for mayor, of course, the electoral government is nothing like we think it is until we run. It's sort of like I use the analogy of professional sports. Everyone was shocked when they found out what was going on. The teams were being paid to, inflict damage on other players. Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh, my goodness, the Football League does this kind of stuff? Well, you're just finding out about it. They do all kinds of stuff. You just don't know. And that's how electoral politics is. You are a representative, but who do you represent? And unfortunately, because our people, our communities, don't have a financial stake or a people stake in that they come out and vote, we don't have representatives. We have people from, purportedly from our community. They look like us. They may even talk like us. But they're not there representing our interests. They're chosen from our community, and they, rather than to be at the table speaking on our behalf, in my opinion, in my observation, they wind up being the gatekeepers in the community. And so my run for office was like running through the beehive with smoke because of my notoriety in the city, the awards and plaques and honors I've received from government and all kinds of other people within the city. Being in a position where you become the unofficial confidant for many people because of your position in clergy in the city. People were not forthcoming, if you will, speaking against me. And so it's kind of like, hopefully he bows out of the race. Well, I don't bow out of anything. I stayed all the way to the end. But then people were forced to have to choose sides. Of course, I was not on the winning side, and you got to see the true faces of people. And unfortunately, our community is filled with individuals that are supposed to be representing us, but when they peel back their faces, they belong to other people. I use the term, which may not be politically correct. I don't know how it's received from folks, but I call them other people's Negroes because they're not ours.
Oh, wow, that's deep. Now, when you did, there was, I don't know which race it was, but you got, was it 11, 10% of the votes? Was it? How did that go now?
Well, I got 10% of the vote count in the last race, which sounds impressive until you realize it was 5,000 votes in a city of 120,000 that won the mayor's election. So there's a tremendous amount of apathy here in Hartford, the fourth poorest city in the country per capita, and it's also the state capital. But it's an extremely sophisticated plantation governance model here, and there is a new crop that's grown in the city. It isn't cotton, it isn't rice, it isn't even opium. It's poverty, and that poverty feeds multitudes. And so,
well, I mentioned the amount of vote because even with the whether people, like you said, think that was a good amount or they think that that wasn't enough. Obviously, wasn't enough, but you stayed positive. And one of the things that you said was because we received 10% of the votes cast for mayor, we have demonstrated that we have a sizable voting bloc. That's 641 activist voters that know that the power of their vote. Could you expand on that?
Well, I'm considered an activist voter. You know, people vote for, or an activist candidate. People vote for, you know, change, generally. If things are pretty much cool the way they are, people are not going to necessarily come out and vote. Right. So if people come out to vote, they're coming out as an activist, or they're coming out as the machinery that keeps things going, unless they want real change. And so my votes were considered activist voters. Now, the political, I guess, you know, look at it from the political dynamic, the political power there is that 10% of the vote, activist voters. Now, these are people that came out and voted for me, right, which is to say they probably figured I wouldn't win, but they still wanted to register their voice.
Right.
So they themselves could be energized to each bring 5 people next time, or 10 people next time.
Right.
And that threat gives you the ability to be instrumental when selecting the next round of candidates, or when you're talking to your town committee saying that I want to support candidates that are going to be actively engaged in bringing about real change for people in the urban setting, irrespective of their racial component. If they're in the urban setting, we want to speak we want to run candidates and have candidates that are going to be there and are not going to compromise when they get there. And so we need to be more engaged and more involved in that aspect.
Well, that's very good, very good. I mean, I like the fact that despite how the elections have gone, that you continue to stay positive, knowing that there can be change in your community if you continue to bring the people together, because it's really not if you won or lost, it's how can you keep the people mobilizing and going forward. You also said that the next step after this election was to hold the officials accountable to do their job, and you would educate and educate the voters, and to using and be a watchdog. I think you said that earlier, using your television network. Now, how would you recommend, before we get to your television network, how would you recommend in any state that people hold their officials accountable, as well as educate those who use their right to vote?
Well, there's several ways you can hold elected officials accountable, and they're actually quite simple. And in fact, in my opinion, they're so simple that great energy, effort, and money is used to overcomplicate them. One is attending meetings. 2, speaking at meetings. And 3, registering people to vote. Those 3 send a clear message to the policymakers and those that are put in positions to execute those policies, between your legislative and your executive branches of whatever the municipality or town or state government is.
Right.
Government does not work top down; it works bottom up. So if you have a dysfunctional base where people become apathetic, it presents an opportunity for people in power to do whatever they want, going unchecked, because there's no one to pull their coattails or to hold them accountable. And so, by asking questions, you keep them in a place where they have to give you answers. Right. By being a little bit educated in, the question you're asking, you can challenge them when they give you a response that is either political, evasive, or, flat out lie. And when you do that and others see you do that, now they have to rethink. Like, look, man, this is never going to get past the electorate. And in suburban communities, it doesn't get past them. In the urban communities where people are apathetic and people are likely not to vote, you've got this large tax base that contributes but never really receives in return. Even if they don't contribute, federal monies are given on their behalf, and then those monies are spent, but they never go to the individual for which those monies are set aside for it. It's all about the money because it's
Right.
that's the bottom line. Your
Right.
money, you pay into the pool, but you don't get anything back.
Right, right. And what's interesting is that you have always for quite a while been, as you said, you're an activist type of candidate, but you've been an activist in your community, and I just want you to talk a little bit now. For a few minutes, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back with everything else. Tell us a little bit about Light Source Productions and the different things that you're doing in media, in television, so to speak, in Hartford.
Well, we do television programs. We do live programs, every morning, where we, teach, educate, and agitate. We do film. We do stage plays. We do, we cover different events. I do a lot of philanthropic video taping for community organizations and groups, things along the line. And then I do television commercials. I have about 3 clients done. Those clients are my bread and butter. So,
right.
That's basically what Light Source Productions does.
Right, right. And I want to tell you, I've in fact today I saw I guess it's a law firm that you did some product for, very, very professional, very lawyerish, if I may say that. If you ever watched, if you're watching regular cable and you see these lawyer shows come on, especially, during the different, judge this and judge that, this one and that one, you see these commercials popping up more and more. And I thought that's what I was watching for a minute. I said, wait a minute, I thought I went to Access TV. but that's exactly the type of things that we expect for anyone to do, quality stuff, where you don't know what you're watching, but at the same time, it does educate the people. So if you all want to watch and see what's going on, you can go to accesstv.org. That's accesstv.org. And we will be back to talk about the snitch and what else is going on in Hartford and where the snitch came from. So we'll be right back with our guest.
Rafika Consultants and Services, LLC, is on the cutting edge of emerging technologies for designing online classes and providing face-to-face and virtual technology training or help with computer programs, web design, and graphic arts. We also provide biography writing services for websites. For more information, give us a call at 631-399-0149. That's 631-399-0149. The Fluffs present the alphabet, now found in paperback, sporting a 5-star rating on Amazon.com. Moon 107, fashions and gifts that bring out the best in you. Moon 107 is an online retail store featuring women's and men's clothing and a gift shop. The women's shop features stylish tunics, suits, and accessories, and offers the well-dressed woman an outlet to find the perfect gift for self or for someone else. The men's shop offers classy French cut shirts for the well-dressed man. The gift shop offers organic skin, hair, bath accessories, and inspirational music imported from Africa, India, and Asia, as well as jewelry and accessories. Moon 107, fashions and gifts that bring out the best in you. Don't forget to visit moon107.com.
So sorry about that. Pause. Something happened. I hope I'm not getting this glitch again. But again, we want to thank you for being a part of the show. If you want to speak to our guest, you can call 213-943-3618. That's 213-943-3618. If you're on the line, we have a few callers. If you want to speak to the guest or ask any questions, you just press the number 1, and we will be with you at the appropriate time. Now, I want to get to the snitch. which I was blessed to see an hour-long trailer that my brother sent to me, and I tell you, other than seeing the different trailers, I can't wait to see what you have in store for us on the 31st of March, 2013. This is when the snitch opens on accesstv.org. And before we get back to our guests, I want to play a soundbite that was first heard by the public around April of 2007.
Is there any situation where you think it's okay to talk to the police?
Yeah, definitely. Say hello, how you feel, everything all right, period.
That's it.
There's not really to talk about with the police. I mean, for what?
If there's a serial killer living next door to you, though, and you know that person is, killing people, would you be a snitch if you called police and told them?
If I knew the serial killer was living next door to me?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't call and tell anybody on them, but I'll probably move, but I'm not going to call and be like, the serial killer's in 4E.
Now, a lot of us probably do remember that. That was rapper Cameron on CNN with Anderson Cooper, and when he said that, it kind of rippled around the place. But this is a mindset that has been in our communities for quite some time, and my brother Stan has done a episodic movie entitled The Snitch, which I said earlier opens up March 31st, 2013. My brother, you hear that clip, and what do you think?
I fully understand what he is talking about and comprehend that. To understand the concept of snitching, one has to understand the concept of community. Mm-hmm. The community is self-sustaining, self-educating, and self-policing. Our community is not policed by us. Therefore, it makes the police in the community more of an occupying force that's there to contain you rather than to act as a law enforcement agency. Mm-hmm. And with that paradigm, it becomes unproductive to cooperate with law enforcement because they're not enforcing laws on your behalf. They're enforcing laws on behalf of those who they represent that have sent them to the community, because the same level of force, occupation, and control is not used in other communities. And therein lies the conundrum for our community. And when police expect the community to cooperate, it isn't for their good, it's for the good of the power structure that keeps this occupying force in place. I mean, it's 2013, and the occupiers aren't hired to go out and find escaped slaves. However, we're not much far away in mindset of those that are in the communities where police have been deployed. So, if the police were working in conjunction with the neighborhood, where the neighbors would call the police or the policing agency to stop somebody from perpetrating a crime, that would be different. You take, for example, a little town out in the middle of, let's pick Texas or something like that. And, there's old crazy Bobby up at the hill. His kid is out there shooting off rounds at the cans, and the baker's house is out in the back 40. If someone could get hurt, Sheriff, could you just, hey, Tony, come on over here. Now, how many times I've come out here and stop shooting off rounds? Okay? Now, if it's in our community, everything short of helicopters is out there. SWAT team, battering rams, guys walking 6 deep. Now, I've seen this in action because I moved into the community which I wanted to represent for 2 years, so that I could be on the ground And, you know, they're high-speed chases. One of my neighbors blew up their car. One of my neighbors blew up a neighbor's car. Guys getting stabbed, police chases, dogs, all them, whole 9 yards. So this isn't something that is theoretical. I've seen it happen in one of the worst communities in the city of Hartford, and I see how the police interact with the citizens. So I understand that. When one talks about snitching, though, and the attitude associated with snitching, it goes further than turning in criminals. Because to snitch means to speak up. And if you don't speak up, that means you remain silent. And silence is used as a political weapon in our community.
Right.
Because you won't speak up, you won't go to the city council meeting. You won't say anything to anybody about anything, even on behalf. It is a catch-22. So it's not by accident that our community is in the condition that it is in, that it's in the shape that it's in, and that we have the end result. Because one thing is certain, that if entities within the community do not comply, then sometimes the police accuse you of snitching.
Right.
So the whole snitching thing is used as a mechanism of control within the community. And that's what we're trying to address.
Now, how did the whole concept of the snitch? Because, again, we know the things that go on in the community. We know, even from the soundbite, we know that, you know, it's not necessarily just, you know, a problem in certain areas that we know of, but the people that we see in the media, the people that we see that are entertaining us, they have the same idea. Even if something were to happen in their world, so to speak, they won't tell, they won't snitch. You know, we have two of our most famous rappers who were murdered, and we don't know who killed Tupac and Biggie. Or we may know, but no one is saying. And so this whole attitude, how did that culminate in you making a movie?
Well, you know, I use the vehicle of television, or as we have it now, the internet and web, video and communications, to help teach and to explain, make complex things simple through a medium that everyone embraces and looks to as, you know, the legitimizer of anything that is said. If it's on television, it's got to be true. It's on the web, it has to be so. So what better way than to deliver these truths about the community and give people the tools they need to change that dynamic. Running for mayor allowed me to see for certain what I was presuming, so that I wouldn't be presumptuous. Now I know. I mean, I know who the gatekeepers are. I know who all of these people are that stop and block. And so it seemed to me that the music that we used, that was done by Ronnie's song, in my mind, I think that's like one of the most brilliant albums ever made. And so the music in that speaks to the issues that affect our community. And if I can find a way to take that music and apply it to what's going on, using examples of community gatekeepers, the people that stop progress, how they do it in association with, you know, political structures and money and things that are happening in our community, because I can only, you know, at the end of the day, speak to what's going on in Hartford, then I have a very powerful way to get that message out. And so that's what we're trying to do with the snitch. So we look at the clergy class in the church. We look at the political class. We look at you know, high office people, and then we look at community groups. So in our ongoing series, someone's going to actually run for office, so that so we can teach people what running for office is really like.
Right.
We're going to put people into the conundrum of being an elected official, but then having to defend themselves against someone breaking in and then discharging a gun. And so there's all kinds of critical issues that we deal with that will be dealt with in this kind of reality news drama that we're trying to create that should be very controversial and provocative, specifically to engage people in the discussion.
Right. Yeah, I think that's very important. Why not just one huge movie? Why different episodes? Was that a factor in what you were going to do?
Because while the problem is simple, getting people to understand it is not. You can lecture about it. You can have policies about it. You can campaign on it. But that falls on deaf ears because people don't want to be lectured to. They don't want to hear statistics and hear about your policies, this, that, and the other thing. You're just another knucklehead politician. But if you could present it in a way that people are used to receiving information, then they can say, you know what, that movie's right. I'm going to go down to my Board of Education meeting, just like they did in that show. There's no reason why my school has to have mice running through it. Okay?
Right.
These kinds of things. And we're using stuff that's very close to them. If it's in South Central, it's Hartford. And the school in the movie's going to be in Hartford. The news of the day that we use will be real news that happened in their community. And so we're making social commentary through the project at the same time that we are addressing issues. And the length of time that it takes is because it's going to take us a period of time to deal with issues as they come up. Now, while there's a framework and there's a hard script to it, some of the, day-to-day activities haven't happened yet.
Right. Well, I think that, I know based on what I've seen thus far and in conversation with you as well, and even with this conversation, that you did not only capture what's happening in Hartford, but you're capturing what is going on throughout, the nation in urban neighborhoods. And I believe that the message that comes out of it, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it in a second, but the message that comes out of it is going to touch or educate those that would see this. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a song that is one of the songs that our brother was inspired by. I have to be biased because I was a part of the group, but we're going to play this song, and we will be right back after this. This is called Sirius, and it's by Kingdom.
someone, come on, right here in this small group, know someone who knows someone that shot that young man? Go ahead, Auntie, tell it. Look, we are a community, but nobody wants to say anything. Anything.
Say anything. Auntie, you talking about snitching?
Yes.
Honey, I'm too cute to snitch. I ain't snitching.
Oh, no, she
Oh,
ain't.
yeah. Shay might snitch, but I ain't snitching.
Excuse me, Shay's not gonna snitch. Auntie, for all we know, that boy that got shot, he was killed because he was running his mouth.
Okay.
This thing right here.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it takes someone to say something to make some changes around here.
Well, ain't no change gonna get made because this one, me right here, not saying a word.
Me either.
Can I say something?
Me either.
What if it was one of your family?
They would have known better.
Oh,
That's
really?
right.
Like, they really would know better.
They would have known better.
All right.
That's right.
You know better.
I know better. You don't see me out there doing nothing, getting shot.
All right. All right. Okay. Okay. So, God watches over us all.
He didn't watch after Londell.
What's interesting is with that clip is that you really captured all of the different attitudes that run, and like I said, this is more than likely 99.9% in every community. I mean, what type of, I don't know, research or what made you really develop these characters in that frame of mind?
I know Hartford. I was running for mayor. I walked the streets of Hartford. I rode the bus for 2 years. I walked in the snow and took the bus. For 2 years, I did not drive a car. And I rode the bus, and I would talk to drug dealers on the street. And I would let them know, if I become mayor, things are going to change. I'm going to bring jobs here to give you an alternative. After the alternative has been presented to you, you change the dynamic. At the very least, I could expect you to help little old ladies cross the street, because it does not need to be this way in this community. That isn't the difference between me running for mayor and anyone else in the city. He said, I'm willing to take a bullet. I have no death wish. My problem is not being shot down. It's worrying about, will someone come and pick up the torch afterwards? I says, and that's the kind of leadership you're going to get from me. And they could say, I respect you, brother. I respect you. I had no problem walking up and down street at 11 o'clock at night. So I understand where folks are coming from. I understand why the dynamic is the way that it is. And I've heard all of the arguments, and so in 20 years being on television, as quote-unquote Pastor Stan, people have called and talked to me, and I've heard these arguments ad nauseum. God didn't watch out for me. Snitching and from people at the state capitol to people on city council to even the mayor's office. So, I've heard all of the arguments, and it gets frustrating for me that the people are running around the boat talking about the water coming in instead of working together to bail the water out.
Right.
And so this becomes a way that I can try to address it in a manner that helps them understand it and hopefully to educate them, because at the end of the day, there's one mind, or as we like to say, one brain per operator. I can only put my own brain in check. I can't make other people do other things. The only thing I can do is present them with the information so that they can make the choice and be satisfied if they choose no. Knowing I've done all I can at that point.
Right, very good, very good. Now we came back. We just went through the song "Serious," but the song that I remembered when I started listening to or watching the videos, I noticed, one song called "King's Kids," which I've been playing, and ironically, that was the song that introduced me, not physically, but just as a listener to music and gospel music at the time, was the song King's Kids. And from that, I did not even know at the time, who did it, but I had followed Ronnie's career for a while before that in jazz and everything else. And so a couple of years after that, I ended up meeting him and joining the group. But why that particular song, or I should say, why that album? Because you do place a few songs from the Amazing album on throughout the movie.
The Amazing album, this actually started off as a stage play. There is a script for a stage play, but the actors were new, and the way we do what we call scripted improvisation. And it was taking longer than the summer to get them on board with that. And so what I decided to do, so as not to lose the actors and not to lose their zeal, was to shoot this as a movie, which has evolved to where we are now. And so in the stage play, all of the songs from the Amazing album actually go all the way through. Half the production is those songs. But Serious has always been my favorite song by Kingdom. And it's been a toss-up between King's Kids and Serious. Now, if the professor, the doctor, is listening, as he has a way to do when people are speaking, and I have nothing but the tremendous respect for him because he's my last mentor, and so I know Serious as Changing Times. And so there was a song called "Changing Times." Old Coke, new Coke. Old Coke, new Coke. Old Coke, new Coke. Classic. Which is real? Which is plastic? Changing times. Here's the word. And so when I hear Serious, I hear Changing Times. And Changing Times was my favorite song, but it never made it on any of the albums.
Okay.
And so Serious, the words to Serious are just so poignant. I mean, I use it as my outgoing theme on my gospel show for years. It is the rally cry. It is the battle cry to those who are in the work of spiritual enlightenment to get serious. And all of these, we have churches everywhere. These inner city murders with the, black-on-black crime in the youth happening within walking distance of churches is like an unacceptable paradigm. And, I say that given that I understand why what's happening in the urban setting is happening is by design. But two strong men cannot occupy the same house. Where is the authority that stands with the staff and plants that staff in the ground and says, "This shall stop no more"? And if we don't see that, then the only thing we can think of is that it's missing. But it needs to be re-engaged. It needs to be re-energized. And if people of faith take a stand, great things can happen. Every great movement on the planet has happened by people of faith.
Right. I think what's interesting with Sirius is that I was talking to him today, and one of the things that I mentioned was that when I saw some of the scenes that you have in the movie, I was, it took me back to when we actually did a video to the song Sirius. And I started to look to see some of the scenes that we did because it looked, some of the, obviously you may have shot in some of the places that we actually did the video in. So, now he's going to go and look for it, and if he puts it up anywhere, I'm going to be so embarrassed. But but the movie itself does capture the songs, and the songs do capture the movie, and I think it is definitely well written. It is well done, and I definitely do encourage all of those who are listening that you set yourself ready, get your schedule set, and on the 31st of March that you go to accesstv.org, accesstv.org, and how will they be able to view it?
All they have to do is just go there, and it will play. It'll be the dedicated first offering. When you log on, it will play automatically and it'll be the first offering for 2 weeks, and then it'll flow into into the way we present our programming. Every show that comes pushes the last show back one.
And let me just say, this is a good network you need to go. They talk about a wide range of things, and I'm not one to sit and just watch stuff just for the sake of watching it. Something caught me when I started watching the different programs or different shows. They talk about everything from relationships to you name it. They talk about it, and I think it is a good testament to what hard work, commitment, a commitment to our people, a commitment to people in general, because you really have to have both. We want our people to rise, but we don't want anyone else to fall. So it is. I believe that is something that we all need. Again, I said earlier in the program, get involved. Support people. Support, if it's going and watching, telling someone else to go and watch, because even numbers, even a 500 views, 5,000 views, make someone realize and know that what they're doing, even though it's always worth it, but that people are really interested in it. And what we're going to do right now, I want to play another teaser from The Snitch, and this is one of my favorite parts of it. I mean, when I first heard it, I said, this is incredible. So let's play this little 1-minute clip, and then we'll be back on the other side of it.
See, now it takes courage, honey, to stand up for what you believe in, to fight for what is right, to risk your life, sacrifice, to walk by faith and not fear, to protect lives that are so dear. But to sit and do nothing, you remain part of the problem and not part of the solution. The evil persists, the wrong keeps going on, more lives will die. And why? Because you don't want to be called a snitch, a witch. You think you'll die simply because you provide a tip? How ludicrous. See, now it takes courage, honey, to stand up for what you believe in, to fight for what is right, to risk your life, sacrifice, to walk by faith and not fear, to protect lives that are so dear.
That is so true, and that is so deep, and I mean, like I said, it is well written, it is well put together. You know, I haven't seen it in its form that is going to be on the 31st, but I know that I am definitely going to be watching it probably over and over and over again. I want to ask you, what do you think, or do you feel that part of this idea, because we're going to be wrapping up in a minute, do you think that part of the idea in terms of the snitching aspect, in terms of don't say anything, almost like a don't ask, don't tell in a different way, is also as a result of what we have been seeing in different movies? You know, like you snitch and all of a sudden they know you said something, and they come and kill your family and everything. Do you think that plays a part as well, or is it just the reality-based situations that have happened in the community?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that it is the movies. I think art imitates life more than life imitating art. I think that people are genuinely afraid to speak up because you can lose your life. People that you love dearly can get hurt if you speak up. And that is why it takes courage, as Darryl Fitzgerald mentions in his poem. It takes courage, and that's what we need. Fear cancels out faith. And so if we are going to be faithful people, if we're going to be able to take the moral high ground and to push back, elements within the community that are not good for the community, it takes courage. And there are far more people in every community that are upstanding and good, but their silence puts them as, coveted allies of the forces of darkness, because they're silent, and so they speak up and say nothing. And so they become hostages in their own homes, and that is unacceptable. Once upon a time, if you said something walking in our community as a little child, it got back home, and you were, it was unacceptable. Now we've got young people who totally will disrespect anybody. That has happened because we've allowed it to happen, but it can change in very short order once we determine that today is the day that we take a stand. Today is the day that it is no longer the same. We're not going to let other people, do the psychoanalysis and analyze us and tell us how we're supposed to behave and act. We've come through much tougher times than this and done great things. We can make it through this time and do even greater things. And
I think also it in addition to all of that, it's about numbers. One person may not or may feel that by himself, but if they know that there are more with them, there's power in numbers. And I think that, to be someone that would allow or to let things go on in their community, it's just as bad, and you're actually a part of the problem than you are a solution to the problem. So on that note, as we wind down, to those young people who have lost respect, to those young people who have maybe not been raised in a certain way where they, have disrespect not only for their mothers and their fathers, but they have disrespect for authority as a whole. How would you encourage them to be more, to have more courage to stand out in their community as someone that is a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem?
I would encourage them to become leaders. Leaders set the example, and we need to tap into and unlock the leader in young people. So my word of encouragement to young people would be the leader you're meant to be. You weren't born to follow anybody. You are the cream of the crop. You are the survivors of those who, for whatever reason, could not make it, would not make it, did not make it. Too many lives and too much blood was spilled so that you could breathe air now. You are the cream of the crop. Do not let any system or people tell you that you are less than the potential that has yet to emerge. But it will never emerge if you continue to be a follower. Be a leader. Be the change agent in your community. Do something remarkable that causes others to say, he was worth something. You don't think you're going to live past 20? Then make your 20 years here worth something so that when 21 comes, you can say, hey, I made it a year past what I thought, and look at the great things I'm doing. And so I think our young people need to be encouraged and challenged to become leaders that they are. They weren't made to be followers. They're made to be leaders. Follow no one.
Wow, that's good. That's good. I couldn't have said it better myself, and I would not even try. Well, brothers and sisters, I want to thank my brother here, Mr. J. Stan McCauley. You can check him out and check the station out at accesstv.org. Do not forget The Snitch opens on March 31st, 2013. And if there is anything that you want to ask him, you can definitely go there, and I'm sure there's a link there that you can send an email. Or do you have a special email address for questions or comments?
Yes, oddly enough, my email address is hartfordmayor@gmail.com. I refuse to give it up.
And that's also will you run again?
I got to be political in this. I will never close the door on political opportunities.
Okay, very good. Well, then I'm going to be the host of the most, and I'm going to say, if you do decide to run, try to come here and announce it first.
I most certainly will make you that promise. And promises by their nature are immutable to change.
All right. So thank you very much, Mr. J. Oh, what happened here? Mr. J. Stan McCauley, I appreciate it. We're going to be doing some work later on in the year, and I really do appreciate appreciate you being a part of the show and sharing the wisdom with not only us old heads, but also the young people who really need some encouragement and to know that there is hope at the, not even on the other side of the tunnel, but through the tunnel, there is always hope. And so for all those who have been listening, I want to thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for listening to the Keys 107 Network. This show, of course, as all the shows on the Keys, will be archived so you can let someone know, hey, there's some wisdom going on that station. They can listen to our shows. They can listen. There's a lot of shows here, and I would encourage you to visit thekeys107network.com and just take a browse through the website. There will be a show for you, or all the shows will be for you. Also, if you cannot come on the internet, if you cannot come on a phone call and listen from time to time, you can also download the Blog Talk app on your smart device, and we will be with you anytime you want to listen to the archives or listen to the live shows. Once again, I thank everyone. I thank my guests today. I also want to thank my sister, Lady Soldier, for being a part of the show. She's probably asleep now, and she will definitely be back on the show again. And as I said, Brother Stan is also welcome to be a part of the show, and I look forward to working with him. Sister Rafika Muhammad, Brother James T. Muhammad, I want to thank you all also, and Brother J.R. Strong, my brother from another mother, for allowing me this opportunity to speak to the people, listen to the people. And next week, on this broadcast, we have a special, all my guests are special, but we have a special guest that I've met many years ago, did some work with her, and her name is Dawn Penn. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, I'm going to play 3 seconds of a song.
Wait the sound and tell the people about the musical disc coming your way.
All right, y'all know who that is. You should know by now because that song is worldwide known by the masses. So don't forget to come next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you will get a nice interview with Dawn Penn. She has a lot going on, and we definitely want to hear what's happening in her life now. So once again, thank you for being a part of the program, and we are going to end. Before we end, let me just say that tomorrow we're back on. Not we are, but there's a show tomorrow, Thursday at 6 p.m. You want to listen to Rafika Soares Muhammad and James T. Muhammad for the Keys 107 program. And then after that at 9:30 p.m., there is TRU School with Shango Blake. And I want to thank you all again for being a part of the program. We're going to end with the song Serious.